But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now, he's cogent. Mm-hmm. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, you know, I don't know if people know this or not, Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, you know what, I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years. If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it. And you...
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got to talk about another epic meltdown featuring Joe Scarborough on MSDNC. Now, Joe Scarborough should not be employed, okay? In a meritocratic society, this man should have been fired a long time ago, because this is the same dude that went on national television and told the world that if you do not think that Joe Biden is in the best mental condition that he's ever been in, the sharpest that he's ever been, then F you, right? F you, okay? He's the sharpest that he's ever been, because Joe Scarborough talks to Joe Biden every morning, right? They have conversations, okay? Joe Scarborough is somebody that knows Joe Biden very well. And this dude clearly was either lying on national television, okay, or his judgment is really bad, right? Probably both, right? Probably both. And it warranted him getting fired. But he's not. He's still on national television for whatever reason. I don't know. It must be that white privilege or something, right? That the left loves to talk about so much. I have no clue. But regardless, we got to talk about the latest meltdown from Joe Scarborough on MSNBC. And this time he is upset at the anti-Trumpers, right? I'm not sure exactly what he means. I think he just means never Trumpers, right? He's mad at the never Trumpers who are refusing to vote for Kamala Harris, right? Because the never Trumpers are saying, look, I don't want to vote for Trump, but I'm not sure if I want to vote for Kamala either. I might just sit out the election, because Kamala is not really answering questions, right? She's not giving answers to the pressing questions that we have about what she's going to do, okay, how she's going to govern. And I'm just not sure if I can vote for somebody that I don't know, right? Especially considering the current track record of the Biden-Harris administration. And Joe Scarborough is upset with this. He's mad about this, right? Despite claiming to be a conservative, he's one of these people that is allowing his Trump derangement to justify abandoning his conservatism to vote for the most progressive presidential candidate in the history of this country, right? Him, Liz Cheney, others are all on this train. This is what they're doing, okay? And they're upset with the other never Trumpers who aren't doing the same thing that they're doing, right? Selling out, okay? So I want to react to this clip, but before I get into it, I actually want to play the clip that they're reacting to, and then I'm going to go ahead and play Joe Scarborough melting down over this guy, Brett Stevens, basically saying, well, I need Kamala to answer some questions before I can actually vote for her. Take a look.
I'm an undecided voter. I'm never going to vote for Trump, but I'm not sure I want to vote for Kamala. And my fear is that she doesn't really have a very good command of what she wants to do as president. It would be great for her to sit down with you or George Stephanopoulos, or you, Stephanie, and get a succession
As if she'd sit down with me.
Why not? Ask her, you know, look, George W. Bush, 25 years ago, was asked if he could name the president of Pakistan and other people. He had no idea, and people said this guy has no command of foreign policy, and it turned out to be a prescient set of questions. It's not too much to ask Kamala, say, are you for a Palestinian state if Hamas is going to run that state?
Okay.
Yes or no?
And let's say you don't like her answer. Are you going to vote for Donald Trump?
No, I'm not.
Kamala
I just said I'm not going to vote for her.
Harris is not running for perfect. She's running against Trump. We have two choices. And so there are some things you might not know her answer to. And in 2024, unlike 2016 for a lot of the American people, we know exactly what Trump will do, who he is, and the kind of threat he is to democracy.
I don't know.
So it's unclear to me how there could be an informed...
The problem that a lot of people have with Kamala is we don't know her answer to anything, okay?
But you know his answer to everything.
And that's why I would never vote for him, and people should vote for him. But people also are expected to have some idea of what the program is of the person you're supposed to vote for. You're just not supposed to say, well, you have to vote for Y because X is this, that, and the other. Let's find out a little bit more. And I don't think it's a lot to ask her to sit down for a real interview as opposed to a puff piece in which she describes like her feelings of growing up in Oakland with nice lawns.
Then I would just say to that, when you move to Nirvana, give me your real estate broker's number and I'll be your next door neighbor. We don't live there.
That really is, and I like Brett, and I like Bill Maher said, he's a fan of what he reads, but I don't know what universe he lives in. He actually said, we don't know her answer to anything. That's just false.
Not true.
It's just false. He obviously hasn't been watching the campaign. And again, I know you're going to get into this, but compare what she said, and again, we can go through the issues with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Whether it's that rambling answer on child care, whether it was the nonsensical answers during the debate. And by the way, she wants to debate again. Donald Trump doesn't, because he doesn't talk about the issues. He can't talk about the issues. But again, there's this false equivalency from the anti-Trump crowd and also from the mainstream media.
She served as a senator, as a prosecutor, as an attorney general, and the vice president. She also has a record.
She has a record.
She has something you can compare to Trump.
But something's happening out there where people are trying to flatten, and it's not just the anti-Trumpers. It's also people in the mainstream media. They're going, yes, Donald Trump, he's saying all of these crazy things, but did you see that? And there were two people this weekend with significant columns going, but did you see her answer to the local Philadelphia question, where she actually gave a 3-point answer? And she talked about, $50,000 for startup small businesses. She talked about tax breaks, $25,000 tax breaks for first-time home buyers. She talked about a private investment partnership that would help create the building of 3 million new jobs. Those are specific answers to specific questions. And yet, two people, one at the Wall Street Journal, one at the New York Times, were like, did you hear her talking about her background and her middle class? And then they go, oh, yeah. She got to the policy questions later, but she never tells us anything about anything. Actually, that's just a lie. It's an absolute lie. And it also ignores what politicians have been doing for hundreds of years. Yeah. When somebody asked me about jobs, I always started talking about my father at 40 years old, losing his job, being laid off at Lockheed. I talked about driving around the South. My entire family, when I was 7 or 8, sitting in the backseat. My dad going to town, trying to find a job so he could support the family. And I kept going through that. And then I would end by saying, and that's why the greatest social policy is a job. And these are the 3 things we're going to do to create a job. Nobody mocked me. Nobody's ever mocked a politician for actually talking about their background and how it influences their policy. But now, as we get in the home stretch, the anti-Trumpers who just can't admit they are going to vote for a man who tried to overthrow American democracy, who did what they did on January 6th, they're desperately trying to create the permission structure so they can vote for a man who said he was going to terminate the Constitution, that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs should be executed, that he told his staff members that Mike Pence deserved to be hanged. I could go down the list. I could do it for hours. Whose own lawyer said he could kill his political opponents using SEAL Team 6 and could not be prosecuted for it. Could not be prosecuted while he was in the White House. I could go down all of those lists, but they're looking at an interview where Kamala Harris gives the answer. They just say, oh, but she told her life story at the beginning of that Philadelphia interview like no politician has ever done. Is Ronald Reagan Did Ronald Reagan do that? Did Barack Obama? Yeah, damn straight they did. Did Bill Clinton tell stories? Yeah, damn straight they did. This is absolutely insane. The false equivalency. You see it from Brad Stevens. You see it at the Wall Street Journal. You see it at the New York Times. It's insane, the false equivalencies they are desperately pushing at the end of this campaign.
Well, and
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Now, the problem that Joe Scarborough has here, he pretends as if, like, these people are going to vote for Trump. They're not going to vote for Trump, right? They're not looking for permission to vote for Trump either, okay? Now, I think those people are irrational for not voting for Trump. I think to call yourself a never Trumper, I think it's just really dumb, okay? Because ultimately, in the day, you're basically saying, well, I'm never going to vote for Trump because I don't think there could ever be a worse candidate than Trump. And that's just factually, like, not true, right? I mean, the last 4 years, Joe Biden was a worse president than Trump, right? I mean, let's keep it 100. He was a worse president than Trump. So to say that, well, I don't think that anybody can be worse than Trump, therefore, I'm just never going to vote for him under any circumstances. Again, I just think it's stupid, right? I think it's dumb. Again, especially considering the last 4 years. I think there's a very, very, very high likelihood that Kamala Harris is going to be a worse president than Trump if she wins. And furthermore, and probably most importantly, there is no conservative case for voting for Kamala Harris. Okay, I don't care how much apologist propaganda comes from MSNBC and Joe Scarborough and Liz Cheney and all the others that, you know, claim to be Republicans and conservatives, but yet they're supporting the most progressive presidential candidate ever. It just doesn't make sense. Okay, I don't care how much you think that Trump is a so-called threat to democracy. There is no case as a conservative to vote for Kamala Harris. So listen, I think being another Trumper is irrational, right? But I'm not going to be mad if they decide not to vote. If they say, hey, I'm just going to sit it out, okay, fine, right? Because if they were to vote, they likely vote for Kamala Harris. So if your likely vote is going to go to Kamala, yeah, then just sit it out there. Just sit it out. And I don't blame them for sitting it out if they truly believe that, okay, well, Kamala Harris is not answering the questions that I feel like I need answers to in order for her to earn my vote. And this is where the problem is with the mainstream liberal media and elitists like Joe Scarborough. They really believe that Kamala Harris should not have to earn anybody's vote because she's running against Trump, right? Therefore, she shouldn't have to answer any questions. She shouldn't have to explain why is it that you flip-flopped on all these issues. How did you go from an open borders extremist to all of a sudden now you are pro securing the border, right? You're going to secure the border and fix the immigration problem. Doesn't make sense. How did you go from wanting to ban fracking, okay, now all of a sudden you don't want to ban fracking? How did you go from wanting to ban guns, okay, mandatory gun confiscations, to now all of a sudden she's a gun-toting patriot that's going to protect the Second Amendment? It doesn't make sense. And Kamala Harris has not answered these questions. She has not answered any tough questions. She has not done any tough interviews. And because of that, people are rightfully skeptical about, should I believe her? But again, according to MSNBC, oh, that's wrong, right? It's wrong to hold Kamala Harris to any standard. By the same side of the mouth, they'll tell you how strong of a woman she is. But yet, when it comes time for the strong woman to actually be strong, no, you can't do that, right? It's too much to expect anything out of her. This is what I was talking about yesterday when it comes to how these people think about Democrats. Democrats, they want to hold Republicans to the highest of standards, right? Republicans have to give detailed white paper policy positions, right? They always have to defend themselves when they don't want to go along with whatever the Democrats want to do, right? They always have to defend themselves and justify not going along with Democrats want to do. But Democrats, though, they never have to justify not going along with what the Republicans want to do. The Democrats never have to come out here and to give detailed policy descriptions about what they want to do and their plans. No, they don't have to do that because Trump's so bad, it's impossible. It's impossible for the Democrat or any Democrat to be worse than Trump. So you just got to vote for her no matter what. But the problem with this is that this is not the way that normal people see it. Okay, this is the way that elitists in the mainstream liberal media see it, but normal people don't care that much anymore, right? Normal people don't. What they care about is the economy. What they care about is a secure border. What they care about is no more foreign wars. What they care about is this country returning to a place of sanity, right? Where people can feed their families, afford housing, to basically be in the same position that we were under the Trump administration. That's what people care about. So when you have 4 years of Biden and Kamala, right, and the results have been a disaster, yes, Kamala Harris is going to have to be held to a high standard. Well, why is that? Because we have seen the results of the policies that she supported. They haven't been good. So yes, the American people are going to say, well, yeah, I want a little bit more out of you. It's just not enough for you to filibuster the answer to the question of how are you going to lower costs. It's not enough for you to filibuster for 2.5 minutes and then you spend 30 seconds talking about the 3, policies that you want to do in order to lower costs. 2 out of 3 of them will do nothing to lower costs. If anything, at least one of them will definitely raise costs, right? And you think that's enough. You don't have to go into any details, any specifics. Like, for example, I'm going to tell you why specifics matter. She says, well, we're going to give $25,000 to people to buy a home. That's the way she frames it. But she's actually not giving people $25,000 to buy a home. It's actually a tax credit, right? So you're not going to get the cash up front to buy the home, right? You're going to get it on the back end, okay? Again, those are 2 different things. This is why details matter. People need to know the details, the nuances of what you want to do. And it's not too much to ask somebody who's trying to convince us that she's going to do a better job than the failure of an administration that she's been a part of so far for the last 3.5 years. Is not too much to hold her to a high standard. I'm sorry. The difference between Trump and Kamala is the fact that we already know what we're getting with Trump. We already had 4 years of Trump. We know what we have under him. So at the end of the day, people are going to say, okay, well, regardless of whether or not I like Trump's answer, we know what we got under him the first 4 years. We have a good sense of his policy and the ability for him to get things done, right? That's how people feel. But with Kamala, on the other hand, we got 3.5 years of her being VP. She supported everything that Joe Biden did, and the results have been a disaster. So again, it's going to be hard for people to trust her leading the country into the future and her judgment when it seems as if her judgment wasn't really great under the Biden administration. That's just the reality of the situation. But again, when you are an elitist, when you're somebody like Joe Scarborough, you're living in a bubble, you don't realize that, you don't understand that. You want to get mad and upset when people are saying, well, yeah, I want more answers out of a vice president who's trying to tell me that she's going to do a better job than she's done in the last 3.5 years. And the last 3.5 years has been a disaster. Yes, I want a thorough explanation of why you're flip-flopping on the positions. I want a thorough explanation of how you're actually going to secure the border. I want a thorough explanation of how you're going to make the economy better. She can't even tell you with a straight face whether or not people are better off today than they were 4 years ago. She can't even answer the question. She never answers the question. But yet, according to the mainstream liberal media, according to people like Joe Scarborough, you're supposed to be okay with that. You're supposed to be okay not knowing, right? It doesn't matter if you don't know what she wants to do. Just vote for her anyways. Kamala Harris can be Hitler. She can be Hitler, and these people will say, yeah, vote for her anyways because she's not Trump, right? And that's why that's so dangerous. Like, it is such a dangerous ideology. It is such dangerous rhetoric coming from the media. Of this, well, let's just vote for blue no matter who. Let's vote for Kamala no matter what they do, no matter what they believe in, because this Trump just so bad. That's how you end up with a real demagogue, right? This is how you end up in an actual dictatorship. You're telling people don't think, don't demand questions, don't hold people accountable, don't do any of that stuff that we normally do. Just give Kamala Harris a pass because, well, Trump is the most evil, worst thing ever. And we know that's not true. We know that's not true because under 4 years of Trump, 99% of things that these people claim that would happen didn't happen. Didn't happen. And this is why all these never Trumpers, right, whether or not they are sitting it out or they vote for Kamala Harris, it don't matter. They're all silly, okay? But I do find it to be hilarious that you have the never Trumpers that claim to be conservatives that vote for Kamala Harris getting mad at other conservatives who are never Trumpers saying, well, I'm not comfortable voting for Kamala Harris for X, Y, and Z reason. Again, it's fascinating. It really is. All of these people are silly, right? All of these people are irrational. All of these people are deranged. And I just don't know why Joe Scarborough still has a job. I just do not understand how in the world can MSNBC platform a guy like this who has been just so wrong on everything, every issue. The last 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, this dude has just been totally on the wrong side of the issues, but yeah, he still has a job. It blows my mind. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.